In a world that's constantly changing, you have to move forward to change with it. At Strayer University, we see you striving to work harder and go further. That's why we provide you with the tools you need to get there, like offering a brand new laptop when you enroll in a bachelor's program, so you can do your coursework anytime, anywhere. Because our greatest strength is helping you unlock yours, so you can always keep striving. Visit strayer.edu to learn more. Eligibility rules, restrictions, and exclusions apply. Connect with us for details.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Who remembers the BJ and Bill show all those years ago on WOLZ? Well, many have said they missed the show. And guess what? They're back. Welcome to the BJ and Bill podcast.
It's the BJ and Bill podcast. This is episode number 29. But you know me, I like to say season 2, episode 5. How is your bracket, Mr. Bill Stevens?
After I saw this stat on I'm fine, by the way, and good morning and welcome. That after the first day, there were no brackets left that had any chance of winning. I mean, not of winning, but I mean, they all brackets were broken on the first day.
I don't believe
because
it.
2 number 1 teams lost on the first day.
But
terrible.
Isn't that the magic of March Madness?
That's the madness of March Madness. That's the madness for sure, because anything can happen. Anything. And something somewhere always, something crazy always happens that you go, oh my gosh, didn't see that coming. And again, this year, no disappointment. 2 number 1 teams, 2 number 1s lost in their first game against number 16 teams. So just crazy. Or 18, whatever it was. Against top-ranked teams lost to bottom-ranked teams.
And of course, me being a boy who grew up in Indiana, loved Bobby Knight. I loved Indiana Hoosier basketball back in the day. I've kind of grown away from it, but they lost in the second round. But Purdue, who I thought would go much deeper than they did, believe this or not, they were beaten by the school where my mother-in-law got her master's degree.
So we had to look it up. We had to look it up and ask, Miss who, before we came on the air. And yes, Purdue got beat by Fairleigh Dickinson, something like that. A school I've heard the name. It wasn't like, who the heck is that? I've heard the name, but I couldn't tell you where they were. And you said they were in New Jersey.
Yeah, because that's where, my wife grew up, a New Jersey girl.
Wow.
And so, I mean, I was kind of like, leave it to my mother-in-law up in heaven to go, hey, you know what? I know BJ's watching this basketball game. I know he's wearing his Purdue sweatshirt. Watch this one, Mr. BJ, who took my beautiful wife and turned her into a redneck. I mean, my beautiful daughter and turned her into a redneck.
Yep. Your mother-in-law still getting
her beautiful daughter.
Your mother-in-law still getting back at you after all these years.
I know. So if anybody wonders why Purdue lost, blame it on my mother-in-law in heaven.
Wow.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
And there's not. I mean, there's crazier stories out there. There's crazier stories than what. So yeah, I watched way too much March Madness over the weekend. Ton of games. I just you plop down on the couch, and next thing you know, 4, 5, 6 hours have gone by, and it's like, oh my gosh, I gotta at least stand up and go to the bathroom, or get a little bit of fresh air or whatever. So yeah, it was pretty crazy out there. Pretty crazy.
What's funny about it, my wife was not in the room while I watched March Madness. She had another TV in another room.
Right.
And so I said, I can't believe it. They were ranked number 1 and they got beat by a 15 ranked team, which is like one of the first times in 36 years, 46. I don't know how long ago it was.
Yeah.
But it was a long time ago. And I'm like, oh. And then all of a sudden, I guess she's reading something on Facebook or something. She goes, oh my God, the school where my mother got her master's degree, they're the team that beat Purdue.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So yeah, it's pretty crazy out there, but it always is. And that's what makes it the cool thing that it is that anything can happen. I mean, if you, this is the only, I'm trying to think if there's other, sports that have similar playoffs, but they don't really. There's a ton of teams. I mean, like imagine if the NFL, you could have a really, really good team playing a really, really bad team. I mean, it happens in the regular season, but it never happens in the playoffs. I mean, by the time you get to the playoffs in football, those are the good ones, the ones that are left. So yeah, but in this, I remember years, it's been a few years now, but the school where you and I used to work and live in Fort Myers, Florida Gulf Coast University, made a little bit of a run. And they were like, everybody, the announcers are like, who the heck are these guys? Who the heck is FGCU? And they won a couple of games and, they made a little splash. So that was kind of fun.
Well, the way it works too, I mean, these small teams get a chance because, in the conferences they're in and things like that. And so it is quite interesting. But, every now and again, they call them Cinderella stories, but these teams really have played good basketball all year. They've just played lower grade teams. So they're not as high up on the national charts. But when they get to these tournaments, they can actually, prove themselves or show America, show the world what they've got. Because, I mean, the year that FGCU went as far as they did, they had a dang good team that year.
Yes, they did. And that was, so yes, you're right. They don't call them Cinderella stories for nothing, but they do. And that's what happened. And it was very cool. And so every year there's another Cinderella. And it's only a matter of time before the clock strikes midnight and she turns back into a pumpkin or whatever Cinderellas do. And so, yeah, but it's always a fun story. Always.
Now, what's interesting about this too, now FGCU lost their coach to a bigger college.
Yes.
What's funny, this coach that had this team was at a yet smaller university and moved up to a higher level, which wasn't still a high level.
Right.
And now I wouldn't doubt, of course, maybe he's got a 2-year deal or a 4-year deal. But I'm going to bet you people are going to come after this coach that, beat Purdue. Like,
oh, sure.
Probably got people knocking on his door.
Oh, sure.
All ready to come. Can you come coach our college team?
It's kind of like, when you think about it, it's kind of like when you and I were in the radio business, that as you had success in your little small market, you start off in a small market somewhere and you prove yourself and you have success and all of that. And then you move up in market size. Well, if you're the head coach at Farley Dickinson, if you're the head coach at FGCU or whatever, it's like, oh, now you're getting noticed. And now the phone starts to ring. I mean, it's very rare in the radio business where somebody actually would call us to say, hey, I'm from a big city and we want you to come work for us or something like that. It's happened, but it's the same kind of, you move up through the ranks, not by getting a different job at the same university, because there's only one head. I always told people that when, BJ and I were working together, people would say, well, what, where do you go from here? How do you move up, in your company? I always said, you don't move up in your company. There's only one morning show at this radio station. So you have to move up in the ranks, you have to become the same morning show at a bigger radio station. So like a basketball coach has to become a basketball coach just like he is, but at a bigger university. So that's how the career path moves. So hope that made sense.
The money usually.
The money is, yes, the money is the big part. Of course it is. Of course it is. So,
and then you have stories like mine, which I did one time on the podcast. I don't even know what episode. It was quite a while ago, but when I was working in Fort Myers, Florida, and it was the same company who I pursued for a job, and they liked me and wanted me. And then all of a sudden, because they found out that our show was so popular and we were what they call the money cow,
Right.
our general manager was not allowing me to go to that station to work in a much larger market for much larger money. But, I guess as companies go,
Right.
they take care of one another. And
Right.
so I lost out on probably jumping up at least $50,000 a year in pay. I think I would have went from I think we were, I don't know what I was making, 45, 50, something like that, up to a job that paid well over $100,000 a year. And it never came to be.
Same company.
Same company, different location, bigger town.
Wow.
I went to Tampa, Florida. I went to Tampa, Florida to work at Q 105.
And that just didn't happen. That kind of sucks. Sucks to be you, as
And
they
what
say.
what was really weird, because I'd known the program director there in the past.
Right.
So it wasn't like either that I went to him. He came to me.
Wow.
And said, hey, we're looking for a new morning show here. And are you interested? And I'm like, am I interested?
Heck yes, I'm interested.
Where do we sign the paper?
Right.
Brought me up, met with him, met with the general manager. Everything was going perfect. We talked money. We talked contract. It was all right there, just being printed up. But before it got printed up, it got axed.
Wow. I wonder if that would, well, I almost said something stupid. Like, I wonder if that would still happen today, but it probably would within the same company. Probably would. I don't know. That's it. I mean, when we were working, I remember when you and I were working, and that was a long time ago, that we used to complain about how they had these contracts that you couldn't go across town. Obviously, you had to sit out of the business for X number of months or whatever, so yeah, it was, I don't know. And they were always like questionably legal. Was that even legal to be able to tell somebody they couldn't work somewhere? But then no lawyer would ever touch it, because it's like, it's going to cost a lot of money and a lot of time, and you might not win. And it's not like a car accident case where we can make millions of dollars, just by, whatever. I don't know. Don't get me started about lawyers anymore.
Yeah, I don't think it was the lawyers that wouldn't take the cases.
Right.
I think once that a radio station found out you had a contract.
Right.
Because Florida was supposedly, and this is all hearsay, what I hear, a right to work state.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
You had the right to work anywhere.
Yeah, that's what they said.
These radio stations with these non-compete contracts would say, well, I have people under non-competes, and if I hire this guy and take him away from that station, then somebody can come and get this guy and hire him away, because then, so no, I don't think we're going to play that game, because
then the whole system breaks.
Yeah, I want to keep my stable in my stable.
Right. So I get that. I do. Don't get me started. Well, you've already gotten us started here. So let's talk about something fun. I mean, March Madness, that was fun.
I don't know if this is fun or not.
Uh-oh.
But I saw a news story last week that, interesting, but yet it scared the hell out of me.
Uh-oh. Do tell.
And we're talking about one thing that I think you're somewhat interested in. AI.
Artificial intelligence.
They say now that you can sit down. There is a machine that you could sit down for about 10 minutes.
Right.
And give 10 minutes worth of your talk to this particular machine.
Right. And
then they could just take that voice, and they showed it on the television that the voice would sound like BJ Odom. He could give a 10-minute speech where they would take that 10-minute speech, put it into this machine, and then they could, of course, obviously type what they wanted BJ Odom to say, and it would come out saying and sounding almost identical to BJ Odom.
Scary indeed. How do we know right now that you are not an art? Oh, look at that. And I said something and my phone started ringing. Oh, they're after us. How do you know that? How do you know? How do we know? How does the world know right now that we are not talking to an artificial intelligence version of BJ Odom? How do we know that?
Yeah.
Well,
and I
because
already
I'm
know
looking at him, folks. I'm looking at his face. So
I know what Bill Stevens is thinking.
what?
Okay, if he goes before me, I
Right.
can continue the BJ and Bill podcast. I'll just use an AI.
Now, I have heard of that. I've heard of that possibility. I haven't, and I think I saw a TV story where somebody tried it, and I went, but maybe that was a while ago because I heard that it was possible. That's what they call it. That's the whole deep fake thing. Deep fake, where you can, I mean, that they've done that for a long time now, where they could take a picture of somebody and make it say anything or do anything, and then you put the voice to it. But the faking the voice, I've not heard a good example of that. I'll have to look that up and see how that works.
Now,
But yeah,
the new story that I saw,
yeah,
I'll even say it was on NBC.
right.
And oh gosh, why can't I think of it? Why can't I think of his name? The guy that does the nightly news.
The reporter?
Lester Holt.
Lester Holt. I love Lester Holt. I love Lester Holt.
They
awesome.
did it with Lester Holt's number, and believe it or not,
It was great.
it sounded just like him.
Wow. So, all of these famous people now, you could, because I mean, the voices are out there. You could take, they don't have to do it voluntarily, right? You could take a recording of your favorite, whoever, politician, sports figure, whatever, feed it to the machine, and then the machine could spit back to you whatever you want and sound just like them. It's getting to be really crazy out there. It's gonna be an interesting world, which is funny because I've been watching. I'm watching the new season of Star Trek Picard. I'm a Star Trek person. I know. Don't hate on me. And the episode I just watched last night had these. They call him a shapeshifter, which is a person, an alien that can look like anything and sound like anything, any other person. And so they were searching the ship for this alien but not knowing that this alien could look like anybody. It could look like any member of the crew. But one of the crew members got really smart and, of course, figured out they asked somebody a question that only they would know the answer to, or something. It was something cute like that, something cute and Star Trek-y. But that's where we're going. We're getting to this point in life where it's like, do I know that that's the real thing? Am I hearing the real person or not? Well,
America's Got Talent had something on this, the Superstar season. Maybe they were on the Superstar season. I didn't watch it.
Right.
But a season or two back, where they took a camera and they put it on a guy was an Elvis impersonator and sang like Elvis. Didn't look like Elvis, but sang like Elvis. And when you saw the video, when you saw it on the big screen where it was doing what it did, you saw Elvis Presley there, and you would think it was Elvis Presley. And then they did a voice thing too. He did a Simon Cowell. It was they showed his face, but Simon Cowell's face got imprinted on it, and he sounded just like Simon Cowell.
Wow.
Now, what I'm thinking is what's dangerous. What's really, really dangerous, of course, this company says we would never do this without anyone's permission.
Oh, yeah, right.
But other companies who know this technology could.
Right.
Now, think of all these scenarios. I know you don't have any children, but your son or your daughter could call you and say things that a hacker or anything can get money from you, could do almost anything to you.
Yep.
And here's another thing. And I know people are going, well, they're probably already doing it.
Probably.
But politicians.
Yes.
You could have somebody like the president of the United States say, I'm a complete idiot. I'm going to wage war on this, Russia today.
Yes.
Bombs are already in the air.
Yes.
And, who would know? I don't know. It's really, really, really scary. It's cool. Don't get me wrong. It sounds like neat technology, but it is very, very scary, scary, scary.
Yes, crazy, scary, crazy. And I would be curious. So like you said, you can take you can have the machine listen to BJ Odom for 10, 15 minutes, and then it can talk back to you just as if we couldn't tell the difference between the real BJ and the AI BJ. The question then becomes, can you now program it to do BJ's job, to know what records are being played on the air, to announce the records, to announce the time and temp, all the things that a radio disc jockey does? Because if you can do that, it's game over. It's game over, because then at that point, one voice, and then you can change that voice or whatever to fit your, you want a woman, you want a man, you want an old guy, you want this ethnicity, you want whatever. And then the whole disc jockey business, the whole radio personality business goes away. It's done.
Now, not to scare any of our fellow friends.
Yes.
But I did also see a story. Actually, I think it was, I don't know if it's the RAI, the podcast.
Our fellow
somewhere
podcast.
Else.
Yes.
But they said, the radio business is about to change.
I believe
and that is like doing the very thing that you say they will begin to do. Right.
And
we're retired, which is maybe a good thing.
I can't tell you. Yeah, I'm about to tell you how often I think to myself or tell somebody, I am so glad I am the age that I am, because I'm not going to have to deal with this stuff, and insert problem here, the crazy politics, the fact that banks are failing again, the fact that AI is going to take over every job in the world, blah, 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 blah. I am so glad I am the age that I am, because young people, you got to deal with this stuff. By we, I mean us old people, are leaving you an effed up world. And I am sorry for that. I apologize to young folks out there that we have done this, because we were so short-sighted and so focused on making a dollar today that, well, that's a whole nother thing for a whole nother podcast, I'm sure. But it's just a crazy world out there, and I'm glad I don't really have to deal with it that much.
And, you got to wonder, where people in the next 10 years will work. Well, first it was automation that took over radio. And then it was, like you would have the same show or the same voice on 20 to 50 radio stations across the country.
Right.
That they would insert into the automation machine, which iHeartRadio is a big offender of that. Or I don't know, I guess maybe it's not offender, just a big player in that.
It's just a big player. Exactly.
Like one person takes out, 70 people's jobs,
Yes.
And, we were somewhat the casualty of that, but it was my heart transplant. But if we would have been there another 3 or 4 years, I mean, and I don't want to say everybody, because, I hate to say everybody.
Right.
But I know a lot of people in the business, and a lot of people in the business are looking for, as you say, ways out.
Exit strategy.
Yeah. Because I know someday the boss is going to come in.
Yep.
And say, Mr. Blankety blank blank from blankety blank station.
Yep.
We've said the line many a times on this radio station or on this podcast.
Yes.
We're going in a different direction. And they want to have a direction in which to go.
I hear that, and I have Sirius XM radio. I mean, the satellite radio, and they don't make any. I mean, they're not hiding it. They're just. I listen to a certain group of radio stations. 4 or 5 different are my favorites. They have hundreds, but I have 4 or 5 favorites because they play similar music. Our music, our stuff, and the personality will even say, all right, I'm done here. You'll hear me this afternoon on this channel, or you'll hear me tomorrow morning on this channel. And the same personality will do the DJing on 3 or 4 different radio stations, or they're not really radio stations, but on 3 or 4 channels on Sirius XM. And so, I'm sure that's how Sirius XM is saving money, getting some real humans, but being able to use them on multiple radio stations. So yeah, it's how did we go down this rabbit hole? I don't know. It's just a crazy business.
I have a friend in another market outside, the markets we worked in.
Yes.
And I don't know if he might only be doing a couple, but at one time he was doing 3 different stations, 3 different time periods. And not only that, he was using, which I never understood this, and I hope he's not listening to this podcast, but maybe he is.
Yep.
Because he is a friend. 3 different names.
Wow.
It's like, I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people say, oh man, you sound just like, I can't tell when you're talking and when the other guys talk.
Right?
I mean, I've heard that before.
Right.
But, so maybe, the average Joe who listens to the radio and doesn't really do a lot of searching around, at their local radio stations in different formats would never figure it out. But I just thought it was quite humorous. 3 different stations, 3 different names, all in the same town, all for the same company. Now, obviously, people
all in the same town.
Yeah.
Oh my God. How does that work? Well, I know how it works mechanically. I know how the system works. Boy, you're right, though. Wouldn't somebody in some town notice, boy, BJ Odom, you sound sure just like that other guy on that other radio station at nighttime? That would be weird. That'd be weird.
Yeah. I mean, I've done it before.
Right.
In different towns.
Yeah.
Pretty much out of the market, but I never did it in the same city.
And when you and I go ahead.
I was just going to say, and obviously too, it's automated. The guy didn't work 3 shifts back to back to back. He did 1 live, the other 2, he went into a little room and recorded the parts he needed to record, and it went into the computer, and it all sounded like he was live there on location.
Yeah. I mean, and when you and I were at Oldies 95, I would come in the morning, and the first thing I would do is I would record 4 little 5-minute newscasts for the smooth jazz station down the way. And so I was on in the same town at the same time, but the same person. So, I mean, if people were noticing, if you were halfway awake, you would notice, oh, there's Bill Stevens on the jazz station. There's Bill Stevens on the oldie station. But I guess people could figure out he was just, because I'm just a reporter. I'm not like I'm not like the personality doing the whole thing. So, a reporter could be on anywhere, I guess, hopefully, whatever.
But you weren't being Bill Johnson on another radio station and Bill Skladowski on another radio station.
No. People I never bothered with different names. But again, same town. If you were smart, you would go, oh, they're both owned by Clear Channel. So he must just, go down the hall, which is exactly what I did. So, okay, I get it. But yeah, pretty soon. Imagine that. Now, see, I can imagine a day where you could program a robot, an AI, to do my job exactly. Okay, Mr. AI, scour Google News, scour CNN.com, scour FoxNews.com, and all we're looking for is the top 5 stories or 6 stories, condense them down into something that fits into 2 minutes, and read them back to us. And in Bill's voice, bang. And now you're on, you could be, wow. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's not crazy. It's the way the world is going.
Welcome to the Twilight Zone.
To the Twilight Zone. I know, to the Twilight Zone. Oh, man. It's just, I am so glad. I'll say it again. I am so glad that that's something I don't have to worry about. Because like you said, what are people going to do? Because pretty soon, if Elon has his way, his cars and his spaceships will all be built by robots. There will be no humans in his factories because you don't need them. Not really. And, there's at this point, there's still some fine detail work that needs to be done that a robot can't do. Well, that'll be solved in a few years. And then what do we do? We all become baristas? What do we do? I don't know. I don't get it.
But even the baristas will be robots.
They will. They absolutely will. So, I saw that, and I don't know if you and I talked about it or not. I don't think we did yet. That McDonald's is building drive-through restaurants that, for starters, all they are is drive-through. There's no insides, because nobody goes into a fast food place anymore. Rarely, I should say, rarely. So McDonald's is building drive-through onlys with no people, no humans. They can crank out fries and burgers and drinks and just shove them out the window, and no humans. And I'm like, oh my God, you can't even go to work for McDonald's anymore. Those are going to be robot jobs too. So I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know where we're going to be in 20 years. I will be around to see it, I hope, but it's going to be weird. It's going to be weird. I don't get it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. What are you going to do? Well, you're retired. What do you care?
I'll probably check out before that.
Yeah,
you might get to see it. This boy probably won't. But just to know what could be coming, to me, is very, very scary.
It is. Yes, it's exciting. It's scary. It's weird. It's gonna be. The whole world is going to change, and people say, "Oh, the world changes every day." Yeah, but not like this. Not on such a big, grand scale. I mean, it's like this is bigger than when gas-powered cars started to replace the horse.
I think though it'll be a slow change. I don't think it's going to happen.
Define slow. I think we're already way into it. We're already a couple of years into it, and I think 10 years? I don't know.
I guess when I watched the Jetsons when I was a kid, it's all coming true.
I still want my fold-up hover car. I'm looking at you, scientists. I still want my car. I still want my little jet car that folds up into a suitcase and I carry it home. I want that. Yeah.
You know what network is it? My TV or Laugh Network or one of the two? They still play Jetsons commercials, which I watched the other day, and I was kind of like turning, making the TV go around, and all of a sudden the Jetsons. And I turned it on. I actually watched 2 episodes in a row going, oh, wow, this is funny. I mean, very, that's another thing.
Right.
Look at the TV shows and the cartoons back then. And now you look at them and go, oh my God, the production in that thing was terrible.
Right.
But,
didn't matter.
But I still enjoyed it.
It was still funny.
Even though the production was terrible, I enjoyed 2 episodes of it.
It's still funny. It's still because it was the writing. It was clever. It was smart. And somebody had a post on Facebook last week about how the Jetsons basically predicted everything except for the fold-up car. We haven't got the fold-up car yet, but like it showed George Jetson talking to his boss, and the boss was on TV, and it's like, oh, look, Zoom. And then it showed Mrs. What was her name? Judy.
Betty.
That was Judy. The daughter.
No, wait.
Who's the mom? Who is the mom?
Let's sing that.
Jane, his wife.
Jane, his wife.
She was like, the doctor was like holding up a magnifying glass, but he was on TV too. And they're like, oh, look, telemedicine. And, so it was all the things that the Jetsons predicted, except for the fold-up car, the dog on the treadmill, the whole thing everything they predicted has basically come true. So it's pretty awesome.
But it's coming.
Oh, it's absolutely coming. I mean, there's not much left to get from the Jetsons. I mean, yeah, I do like the houses up on the stilts up in the clouds. That's kind of cool. I like that. So yeah, sign me up for one of those.
Heck, even the Flintstones had some better stuff that's nowadays you're finding out.
That's right.
I still want to go to the drive-in though and have the speaker, the little speaker they put on the window.
Oh,
tip my car over.
Oh, yeah.
All these young people listening to the BJ and Bill podcast. What are they talking about?
What are they talking about? Go look up the Jetsons. You could probably find, I don't know if you can find the Jetsons on YouTube or not.
I'm betting you can. I'm betting
you can.
And the Flintstones, all that stuff.
Flintstones are
now. When I was a kid,
classic. Yes,
I was a Hanna-Barbera. I mean, I watched some WB or whatever, but I was a Hanna-Barbera.
Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
Yeah,
you bet.
I watched all that. Those were the cartoons that I loved growing up.
Important point. You can win a bar bet with this every day. Every day you can win a bar bet with this. Hey, friend. For a free beer, tell me who was the first married couple to appear in the same bed together on TV.
I think I might be able to tell you, but I'm not
sure. And I'll just to clue you in, because back in the 60s or whatever, married couples could not appear in the same. So like So like Ricky and Lucy, I Dream, they would separate beds. So who was the first couple to appear in bed together on TV?
And I think they started out in separate beds.
You're not going to get this one.
Eventually got together.
You're not going to get this one. Go ahead.
I think it's Dick Van Dyke.
Wilma and Fred Flintstone.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yes. Dick Van Dyke. Good guess. Good guess. And I'm not sure. I'm going to have to look that one up now. Because now you got me. Now you got the wheels spinning. Yeah.
Can you imagine today's soap operas?
Oh, man.
Oh, man. Can you believe that John and Judy, they were together and they're both in their separate beds and they're trying to
make out across twin beds, split up in the room.
Oh,
all right. Okay,
we're having myself fun. Out already. It's got to be break time.
It is break time. I'm so glad we got off of the stupid AI stuff and we're into fun stuff. So, all right, yes, folks, go refill your coffee. Go have your robot servant refill your coffee, and we will be back in just a moment. And welcome back. I am the real Bill Stevens, and that is the real BJ Odom over there. The only reason I know that is because I see his smiling face. So unless he has been faked in both voice and picture, I'm going to assume that's the real thing over there. You're the real thing, right? Uh-oh. Maybe not, folks. Maybe not. Welcome back to the BJ and Bill podcast. If you would like to get in touch, by the way, your real emails and your real comments are appreciated, really. At BJ and Bill podcast at gmail.com. BJ and Bill podcast, spell out the and. BJ and Bill podcast at gmail.com, or look us up on Facebook. Same exact thing. BJ and Bill podcast. Just do a search for that on Facebook and you will find our little group with the podcast and comments, which we much appreciate. Yay.
And don't forget, you can always review the podcast, which helps us. And I don't know how it does it, but it helps move us up the ladder as people listen to podcasts. Somehow.
I wonder what we're filed under. I mean, because podcasts generally have like a category, sports or politics or health and wellness or whatever. What are we? We're just like two old guys talking. Is there a category for two old guys talking?
I don't know.
We dominate that.
You know what? If nothing else, we're really giving an education to the younger audience.
Yes, we are. So we are inspirational and motivational.
Is that what it is? Okay.
God, I don't want to be like those guys. I don't want to be like that.
I don't get old like that.
Yeah.
So maybe we should ask that to Jay, who listens to the show every week, produces the show. So Jay, maybe sometime this week you can tell us what we're listed under, because probably he's the one that lists us, since he's the the
right. And I know we're on the big ones. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on like that. I can go look at Apple Podcasts while we chat and see if it shows the listing. I don't know if it does or not, but we'll take a look.
Okay. Now, okay. We're going to go into a few strange directions here.
All right. Try me.
Do you pull, you ever eat English muffins?
Do I what? Read English muffins?
No, eat.
Oh,
eat.
I thought you said read.
Do you read English muffins? Oh, on this English muffin.
I've heard of reading tea leaves, but never English muffins. So do I eat English muffins? Well, not so much anymore, but they are tasty and I do like them. Yes.
Because what I'm trying to figure out is
the
proper way to split them. I've tried pulling them apart with my fingers.
Yeah,
I've tried cutting them. But it seems like no matter what I do, they don't come apart the right way.
Well, you buy them that are already, and the term I think I've seen is fork split, which means somebody stabs them with a fork all the way around.
Yeah.
I'm making this move on podcast. Of course, nobody's seeing that. And then I usually, just to take them apart, I just usually use a fork. I find you can see where the holes are or whatever on the side and stick a fork in it. Stick a fork in him. He's done. And then pull it apart.
Seems like no matter what I do, I can cut them. I can try to pull them, where the fork, little notches are.
Right.
And they always come out. You get like, they don't I don't know. They're like, you take a big chunk out of one or a chunk falls out. And I'm like,
Yeah.
how do I do? I want to learn how to do that properly. I don't think I'm cutting my English muffins properly.
Whenever I have bought them, and it's been a while, so they already say fork split on the side, because that way you gotta preserve the nooks and crannies where the butter gets in and they toast. Come on.
Mine never come out right. You can get a big chunk out on this side and hardly nothing. They don't come out smoothly. That's all I'm saying. Maybe I'll try the fork, because I've tried cutting. I've tried taking my fingers and pulling, over the little holes.
No, that's no. So, it's a fork thing. I am sure it's a fork thing. You've got to up your English muffin game. That's all there is to it. Have got to up your game
tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Next time, next podcast, we will expect a complete report on BJ Odom and his English muffin splitting.
Because I go into spurts. Like, I'll eat cereal for like a month or so.
Oof.
And then I'll go eat like eggs and, for a month.
Yep.
And then now I'm on an English muffin kick.
Okay.
And I don't know why I do that, but I guess it might be good in a way.
Right.
But
make sure you're using real butter, please. Real butter. None of that fake stuff.
Never mind. I had a joke coming, but I'm going to leave it alone.
Okay. All right.
Podcast. But yeah, I go through spurts, I guess, like I'll do the same thing every morning, and I'll only do it for like maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month. And then I'm off on some other tangent, and they recycle too. It's not like I use, it's not like I have a different one every month. I mean, after about 4 or 5 months, I kind of recycle.
Now, I have a BJ Odom memory that I am going to share, and you tell me if you still do this, because it blew my mind when you and I would go to Mel's Diner.
I know exactly where you're going, and yes, I do.
You still do. BJ Odom, they would bring breakfast or lunch to BJ Odom and put the plate down in front of him, and he would proceed to eat one thing at a time. So in other words, if it was breakfast and there was a pile of eggs and a pile of hash browns and a pile of bacon or whatever, he would eat all the bacon and then all the eggs and then all the hash browns. Not necessarily in that order, but whatever there was of that thing, he would eat all of it all at once. Not all. Yeah. I mean, he would eat that until it was gone.
Now, if I have an egg,
yes,
and it is like sunny side up,
yes,
and I have toast, I will dip my toast and have two at the same time. But actually, it's one thing.
That becomes one thing.
To me, it's one thing.
So, but you're saying you go out to dinner, you go to, I don't know, a diner, an Outback Steakhouse or whatever. They put that plate, that Outback Steakhouse, you're going to eat all the steak and then all the spud and whatever, right? You still do that.
I still do that to this day.
Oh my gosh. And have you ever thought why?
Nope. I try every once in a while. I go, you know what? I'm going to eat different. And right. it's like taking fingernails on a chalkboard. Like, oh my God, can't do this. I cannot do this. I think it's somewhere classified under OCD.
It might be. Yes, it well might be obsessive compulsive behavior. And the funny thing is, I mention it because I actually used that story of you, and I don't remember. I was at Outback with a friend last week or something, and that story actually came up. I brought it up, of course, and I wonder if he still does that. And here we are. He still does. So, ladies and gentlemen, some things never change. Some things never change.
And okay, let's say we're having hamburgers, fries, and fruit.
Right.
I'll probably have the hamburger first.
Right.
The fries second, and the fruit third.
Is there something in your mind that says this one's hot, I better eat this one first?
I don't know, but there usually is an order, like breakfast.
Right.
Breakfast will probably be the egg first. The egg first.
Right.
And then the meat, if there's a meat. And then the meat. And then the potatoes or hash browns.
Unreal.
And
I guess it's not unreal. Folks, tell us, do you do the same thing? Or tell us your little crazy eating habit.
I have never ran into anybody that eats like me.
I have not either.
And speaking of breakfast, okay, let's say we've had the eggs,
Right.
and we've then dipped over to the meat,
Right.
and then to the hash browns. Let's say there was a pancake or a waffle involved in this. It's a big breakfast. The waffle or the pancake will be last.
Waffle or pancake will be last.
And I can tell you, if you put that combination in front of me,
Right.
9 times out of 10, that will be the order.
Okay.
It's not like, oh, I'm going to change it up. I'm going to have the waffle first today. It's the eggs, the meat. Now, if there's no potatoes in it, it's the eggs, the meat, and then the waffle or pancake.
He's got a system, folks. He's got a whole system.
I do. I got that breakfast system down. Lunch is a little. You don't even want to see me.
Right.
I have like convulsions on Thanksgiving. Like, what do I eat first? What order do I put this in? There's too many things to put an order in.
So go ahead.
There could be 10 things for Thanksgiving.
And you're still.
That are on my plate.
Right.
But it's still going to be one thing at a time.
So this is, I was going to say, this is the Star Trek tell. In poker, they have a thing called a tell. If I see you make a certain facial expression, I guess that you have good cards, bad cards. This is the Star Trek tell to whether BJ is the AI version of himself or not. If you are having lunch or breakfast with BJ Odom and he starts eating different things it doesn't eat all the same thing all at once, you're dealing with a robot. So you better run. You better run, because it's like, oh my God, it's a fake BJ Odom.
I can't wait till we have our next meal at Buc-ee's or something. I'm gonna freak you out. But I'll probably be my hand will be shaking, but I'll go, I'm gonna do this. I know I can do it. I want him to think I am the robot.
Well, wait, would a robot have to eat bacon and eggs? I'm not sure. Maybe they would. Who knows? I don't know.
Well,
but there you go.
They want you to think.
I know. They want you to think.
Speaking of eating.
What?
Speaking of eating, my favorite subject. And I know that you are the man with all the answers because you write the Shaq Fu blog every week.
Yes, I do.
And I was reading, and maybe it was an older one, because I think I've heard of it before, and I've heard that it was coming to Orlando, but it all of a sudden popped up on my thing again.
I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
Shaq's Big Chicken is coming to Orlando.
As I wrote that story last week, and as far as I know, it's a brand new story. It's a new thing that, Shaq's Big Chicken Restaurant is going to open in Orlando.
I did know one was coming, but where or when, I did not know. Now, I will tell you this too. Speaking of Shaq's Big Chicken, his grand opening, which I think was the first one, I could be wrong, was in Las Vegas.
Yes. Your son was there. My son was there at the very first opening of Shaq's Big Chicken. The very first Shaq's Big Chicken restaurant was actually on a ship, on a Carnival Cruise Line, because Shaq is involved. Shaq is the spokesperson. Shaq is the chief fun officer, the CFO of Carnival Cruise Lines. So but the first permanent land-based install was in Vegas. Yes. Now, having said that, yes, I just wrote that story last week that it's not any super fancy mall or anything. It's the Market at Southside, for all you Orlando folks, Market at Southside. And they're saying before the end of the year should be open. And if I don't get an invitation to meet the big man, if I don't get that invite from your son, there will be trouble. That's all I'm saying. I do want to tell you this, but it would still be a good opportunity probably to meet the big guy. But you don't really want to meet the big guy at like a grand opening, or, he does the DJ shows. Right. And things like that. Right. Because you'll just kind of meet him like, boom. Right. But like, if you're going somewhere with my son where Shaq happens to be there and they happen to be like recording liners or just, not a lot of people around, you get much more of a better chance for a one-on-one. Sure. I mean, I understand that. Obviously we're talking Shaq, one of the most recognizable guys on the planet. So yeah, he's probably, well, and I mean, remember when BJ and Bill used to go out and have to do events and stuff like that, people would want to come up and talk your ear off. And it's like, no, I'm sorry. I got to meet this, and this, and I got to do this. So yeah, I get it. So yes. So note to Jay and note to Gentry that if that happens and we go for a party to meet and greet with Shaq, not a meet and greet, I mean, to a real sit down and, introduction and chat for a bit, yours truly had darn well better be there. That's all I'm saying.
He is a fun guy to be around. And I never will forget, because my grandchildren met him many more times before I did.
Right.
The first time I met him, we went to a filming of, have you ever watched Tanked?
Yes.
It's where they take a celebrity and they build a fish tank for him.
Yes.
It was his second episode in Tank, because first he had he had the truck first. There's like a big diesel truck.
Okay.
There was a fish tank in the front of the truck.
Okay.
And then he had another big tank that he put out like when you first came in. Now this is Orlando House, which he sold. So I don't know what happened to the tanks, if they're still around or what. But then he had a really big tank when you first walked in the foyer. What was being built by a tank, the tank people.
Yes.
So the first time I met him, they were in the process of filming that show.
Oh, okay.
And my grandchildren, who have met him like 3, 4, 5 times before that, could care less about Shaq. They were all excited about the guys from Tank. That's who they wanted to meet. That's who they wanted to hang out with. I've hung out with Shaq. I've done this with Shaq. I don't need that. I want to meet the guys from Tank. I just thought that was the most hilarious thing I'd ever seen. They weren't excited at all that Shaq was there. They could have cared less, but boy, they wanted to meet those guys from Tank.
From the fish tank guys. Okay. That's great. I mean, everybody's got their thing, and that's fine.
No,
that's
but
cool.
I mean, obviously the first, few times they met him, it was impressive for them. But they'd met him so many times, like, okay. And they used to call him Uncle Shaq. They really did. In the beginning, I don't know if they still do or not, because they're older children now.
Right.
But it was always Uncle Shaq.
That's awesome. That is totally awesome. So yeah, that's. But great.
I never will forget and I'm just going to do, this is like my Shaq story. The first time he met me, Gentry, my son, and Shaq were really just starting to form their relationship and really getting to, I mean, I don't think at the time he met me that he knew my son had a different name besides Gentry Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
So the first time he met me, and he must have called me Mr. Thomas 10 times.
That's funny.
You got quite the boy there, Mr. Thomas.
Mr. Thomas.
Would you like that? The cook was there that day.
Right.
What would you like for the chef to make you, Mr. Thomas?
Wow.
And really, that's his manners. He called me Mr. Thomas the entire day that I was there.
Well, you are an old guy, so I get that. but good for him. Yes. I mean, he's not making the effort. I mean, his manners, like you said, and I'm the same way. If I meet somebody, of my age, even if they're a little younger than me, I always say Mr. until they tell me otherwise. And I think it's just cool. Anyway, whatever. That's a whole
But yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome. So anyway, I'm not going to say it again. I'm not going to say it again, guys. I got to be there. That's all I'm saying. Okay. It's all good.
Hopefully I'll be there too, since we live here in Orlando. Well,
yeah, you're like right down the street from, I'm close, but you're super close. So yeah.
Now what's sad too, Shaq, well, I mean, it's not sad because he wanted to, but Shaq has, since sold his Orlando home.
Yes.
So really that's when the grandkids and when I had more opportunities to meet Shaq, when he had the place in town, because my son had come up for a couple, usually when he came up for a couple of days. He didn't stay with Dad either.
Uh-huh.
He stayed with the big guy, because the big guy has all these.
So you were at that house in Orlando?
Oh yeah, I was there. Yeah.
Oh, I remember. I wrote those stories too. I remember, that it was on the market and blah, blah, blah. And I kept thinking to myself, wow, that looks like totally awesome.
Now, the first buyer that he had who wanted to buy it was a big corporation.
Right.
And they wanted to use it as a corporate retreat.
Oh.
Like take all your executives there and have like a retreat.
Sure.
But the Windermere community would not allow that.
I didn't know that. Well, that probably didn't get out in the news. So yeah, I didn't know
they
that.
said,
That's
you have to come here and you have to use it as a home.
Yeah,
I mean, you had to be a full-time resident, but you had to use it as a home.
Right. And I can imagine that. I mean, if I were Shaq's next door neighbor, and I imagine they are all, because I know that neighborhood, I imagine it is all multimillionaires, and now, they're not famous people, but they're, they got the money. I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want some company using it for a retreat either,
Well, Shaq, you had to have, obviously you had to get through the gate.
Right.
To the community.
Right.
But then there was a gate to Shaq's property.
Oh.
So it was like double gated.
Oh, yeah. And I had a couple of clients in Sarasota that lived out on Siesta Key. And they lived in a development that was like that. So you'd go through the first gate with the guy, with the human, and then he would give you a little token, like like a subway token. And you would get to the gate for the upscale part of the upscale neighborhood. And you would have to put the little token in and the gate would open and you could go through. So yeah, I've seen those neighborhoods. Yeah. Gate within a gate. That's a little crazy, but
it was like a gate within Shaq's gate. It only went to Shaq's house, the second gate.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It only went to Shaq's house.
That's
impressive. And it was on the water. It was. I'll tell you what impressed me. I don't know if it impressed me the most, but what blew my mind.
Yeah.
He had a full basketball court.
Yep.
With bleachers.
With bleachers.
I mean, it wasn't a lot of bleachers.
Right.
It was like, 3 or 4 rows of, bleachers. And I'm going.
Those old school metal bleachers that could fold out from the wall like we had in high school.
This is like different.
That's awesome.
And of course, he had the 2 baskets, and then the basket that if anybody's a Shaq fan remembers, that when he dunked and crashed the board and it all broke apart.
Right.
That one is like in the middle where you can't really shoot at it. It's up high, and that was hanging in the middle, up in the basketball court. That I think if anything that impressed me when I went there, that was the thing that impressed. The pool was great.
I was just going to say the pool to me, because I love pools and swimming and all that it was like some giant Olympic sized thing that's like, 18 feet deep for diving and all of that sort of thing. That would have been, I would have lived there.
Yeah. It had like rocks and stuff and a fall, and you could go up on the rocks and jump off. That would have been me. Yeah. And I would have liked to have went out on the jet skis, but I didn't ever get to do that. Missed out on that opportunity. Well, again, the grandkids did all that stuff. It was wild. And it's like, my son still goes out to LA and still goes to Atlanta. But now that the Orlando house, no more.
Oh, well, too bad. Somebody else is enjoying it.
No more chances for me to meet the big guy.
Right. So if you buy Shaq's house, the basketball court comes with it. I mean, I remember seeing, like he had his bedroom had
theater
the
room too.
Huh?
He has a big theater room too.
Room, all that. But I'm saying of the stuff that's kind of personalized to Shaq, how much of that stays? How much of it goes when he moves out? How much of it do you keep? Like if you're the new multi-million-dollar owner, do you keep the
basketball court? I heard they were changing that.
Well, yours truly is turning it into a pickleball court for sure. For sure. But yeah, that's
you're gonna put a pickleball court in the garage. The garage held like I think 10, 15 cars.
I remember that too, that it was almost like from the pictures I saw, like a new car showroom, that it kind of showed off the cars and everything like that. Yeah, that's all right. So we're not off the track. We're talking about our buddy Shaq there. So good luck to him and good stuff. Keep opening those big chicken restaurants. And I look forward to visiting one very soon.
I wonder if since maybe if we go with Gentry, maybe we'll get like a free sample.
Yeah, but free sample. I think a free sample of a chicken sandwich is the least of our worries at this point. But I do remember, of course, that when BJ and Bill would travel, to various restaurants and things like that, we never paid for food when we would, go to restaurant, especially our friends at Mel's Diner. Your money was no good at Mel's.
And
So-
that, you know what? And this is like a different, but it's like the same worldwide. Like we were just known in this small town as the radio people,
Right.
and we hardly ever paid for things.
Right.
But now we made, I'm not going to say we were rich because we didn't make big bucks. No,
No.
but we were celebrities. But someone like Shaq, and name any other celebrity, big time, one of the Kardashians, any of those
Yes.
that, is like known worldwide. And they very seldom, and it's sad too, because they got the money,
Right.
but they very seldom pay for anything.
Probably true.
Shaq walks into a restaurant, hey, let me pick up the check,
Right.
and it's weird how that works. And then the poor working people, they go into a restaurant
And they're
pay
paying
full
for it.
price.
I've seen, and I'm not saying he does this all the time. I'm not with him all the time, but I've seen several stories though of Shaq will have dinner or whatever, and he'll pick up the tab for everybody in the place,
Oh,
whether
yeah.
they're with him or not.
Yep,
he'll
he's
pick
done
up
that.
the tab with all the.
And
Yeah.
he'll walk into a store,
Yeah.
and he'll just one time he went to a store, and he went to the before Christmas. Oh, what's the name of it? Where they hold the stuff for you.
Yeah. Where the whole,
Yeah.
oh, you mean like a will call or something? Not will call.
Like
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you give them like $10, but it's
Yeah,
a
I know
$100
what you're talking
item,
about.
so
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
going to
yeah.
hold the item for you till
Yep.
Christmas.
Yep.
You went in one time and paid almost everybody's off.
Right.
Okay, everybody can come get their Christmas gifts now. It's all
Right.
paid off.
Right. Believe me, you're talking to somebody. I've never met Shaq. I know more about him than probably most people. I mean, I know the stories. Let's put it that way. I don't know him personally. I feel like I do. I could be wrong. When I meet him, I'll let you know. But I do 3 stories a week about Shaq on the Shaq Fu Radio blog. Come on over and give it a listen or give it a watch. But so yeah, I know all those stories. Like when he was in a Best Buy once, and he met with a mom who was homeschooling her kid. He ended up buying her a laptop for the kid and stuff like that. So yeah, lots and lots and lots of those stories. So good for him. Good for him.
Now, were
he's
you writing
got a
the
big
blog?
heart.
Were you writing the blog and it blew up? That where he went into a jewelry store and paid for the guy's engagement ring.
Paid the kid. Layaway is the word we were looking for.
Yeah, layaway. Yeah.
Layaway we were looking for. He was in a jewelry store. The kid was paying off a little bit of the engagement ring, and Shaq paid the rest of it. Yes, I was.
And
Yeah.
remember that there was a video that went viral with that?
Yes.
My son was the one that took that video.
Awesome. That's really
I remember
cool.
when it happened, he had all these people, all these, broadcast companies.
Right.
Like, remember we always talked about when you did the actuality,
Right.
they had to get the footage from him. And,
Awesome.
so yeah,
That's cool.
I mean, I don't know if I'm talking out of school by giving these stories, but it was some things as a dad I'm proud of, and it was cool, like I said, to witness a few myself.
Right. There you go. There you
So
go.
proud dad story.
Proud dad stories, proud Shaq stories, proud everything. I'm glad we have ended this podcast and come to the end of the hour on a good, high, uplifting, fun note, rather than talking about whether BJ Odom is going to eat his breakfast in order or not. So there you go. Or whether it's an AI BJ Odom. We should try that. We should, because we should try and put one of us into the AI and see if the listeners can tell the difference, or if you can tell the difference. But
I wonder how much it costs, though. Yeah, obviously, it's not going to be free. Say, oh, here's
Right.
10 minutes of my voice. Now I want to make an AI for me.
I don't know that. The ones I've seen are the and I've almost paid for it. They're not a lot of money. The app on your phone that will take a picture, a selfie of you, and turn it into like a Picasso or a Renoir, or turn it into a painting or some fancy, turn your face into some amazing artwork, keeping your face, but I mean like putting you into different scenes and stuff. I think that's super cool. I've seen a lot of that on YouTube and stuff, and that looks really interesting. So, yeah.
So people, listen to the podcast. Next week, we bring our podcast. We let them drop, as they say in the business, every Wednesday.
Yep.
make sure you listen next Wednesday again and see if it's us or not. Well,
That's right. We never know if BJ or Bill will be the real deal or not.
But I wonder if they get your personality. If they do, look out if anybody ever uses mine.
See, to me, that's the final frontier, to borrow the Star Trek thing again, is like, I can make it sound like BJ Odom, but if I know BJ Odom, like Bill knows BJ, could I listen to that and you fool me? Could I be fooled by saying, I don't know if that's him or not, or yes, it is him, but no, it's not. Just by, like you said, the personality, the little quirks, the little humor, the whatever. That's when it crosses the line.
That's
so
when
we'll find
really
out.
deep.
That's really
I think mostly BJ would sound like this if it was an automated AI. I think I would sound like this.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill, how are you today? I think this is a very sunshiny day. It's beautiful out there.
Yeah.
Let's all enjoy today.
Well, go out and
Rain Man.
Go out and Rain Man. Rain
Definitely,
Man DJ.
Definitely going to enjoy the rain today. Definitely.
Man. Okay. All right. Well, go out, make it a great week in your real human life. And we will be back next week. But until then, it's just up to BJ to say,
see ya.
Before Shopify, were you wondering, where are my sales at? Now you're selling with Shopify, the global commerce platform supercharging your selling. You have no problem selling online, in person, on social media, and beyond. Gary, easy on the cha-ching.
Oh, sorry, but my Shopify sales are through the roof.
Start selling with Shopify today and discover how millions of businesses around the world use Shopify to ignite their selling. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/listen. Shopify.com/listen.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.